if you click away from this video in the next 10 seconds, I want you to know that with my storytelling, I have one main goal: to have people see or envision the genuine human that I am. Whatever outcomes happen after that, I can sleep well at night. In this video, I hope to help you all in your lives by sharing how I use storytelling techniques to get me into every Ivy League school I applied to, my dream jobs after college, a thriving 4-year relationship, and over $100,000 in extra income every year. To help all of you hopefully apply some of these principles to your own lives, I'll share my thought processes and different strategies, a lot of which I've honestly never shared with anybody. I even share how I helped my companies raise over $2 million in initial funding and how I negotiated $1,500 a month off of our lease. I want to first start off by defining what I mean by a story in this video. A situation viewed in terms of the information known about it or its similarities. With this definition in your mind, you are the only one who has the full story of your life. Everyone else, everyone who's ever seen or heard about you, has a different, unique story of you that is only defined through their perspective. In my case, my story can range from just that random 6'5" tall young man to an incredible friend who has battled through adversity to a successful engineer who got into every Ivy League school he applied to. Perception is the real differentiator here because I'm still me in each of these stories. I'm constant. And there are things we can change about people's perception of us. The way that we act, communicate, and treat others, for example. Fundamentally, every time you communicate, you're telling a story about yourself through a conversation. Every time you smile at someone as you walk by, you're altering someone's perception of you. So let's get into college admissions. I said that I got into every Ivy League school I applied to, and that was true. I applied to Harvard, Princeton, Columbia, and Cornell, and I was accepted to all of their engineering programs specifically. And with my application, with any interview that I was a part of, my main focus was answering key questions about me that I thought they would want to know. And the first question I answered was, how do I set myself apart? And for me, that was a very easy answer. I excelled in my sports and I excelled in my engineering interests, and I wanted to tie that together somehow to show that I'm a well-rounded individual. I was someone who competed in varsity basketball, volleyball, and track, and then I was also someone who conducted research at UCLA as a high school student. And being able to show that I was able to be successful in my sports endeavors, like I was named MVP of my basketball team, and I was also named Athlete of the Year and Academic Athlete of the Year of my school, while also doing well in that research over the summer where I was able to get a letter of recommendation from a professor at UCLA to be able to contribute to my application process. These were things that I knew were great, right? But really forming that story and really showing how I was basically using every ounce of my time outside of my schoolwork to progress myself forward in either of my endeavors, that I wasn't wasting any opportunity that was in front of me, and that I was willing to put in the work to not just participate, but also excel and lead in the things that I was a part of. So with basketball and volleyball, I was also a team captain, so I had to go above and beyond the normal members of the teams. Another question that I always think about in whatever situation that I'm involved in is, what pain points am I trying to solve? In the realm of college applications, the question really is, why do colleges accept who they do? And from very early on, I realized that most situations in life are fundamentally a value exchange. For colleges specifically, colleges are only as famous as their alumni. So they want you to succeed at the university, graduate, and eventually elevate that university's name. Graduation rates are a metric schools want to keep very high, and if an admit flunks out of school before graduating, the admissions officers that admitted them made a huge mistake. Another question that I thought I could answer in my college application was, will I elevate and motivate the people around me to strive for more? And I think I hinted at it while explaining these different questions, but there are means of telling these stories in specific applications, in specific scenarios. For college applications specifically, those avenues are through essays and through the interview process. And sometimes it's a numbers game, and you'll only be given an opportunity to tell your story in some parts and not others. Back in my college admissions process, I was interviewed by MIT, Princeton, and Harvard, and was accepted by all of them. The two schools that I was actually waitlisted for were UC Berkeley and Stanford, who I did not interview for. So those were two schools where I didn't get to tell my full story, and apparently my essay and my resume couldn't speak for the story that I was trying to portray. So yeah, that's college admissions. Let's talk about jobs now and how I told a story about myself to land the opportunities that I have up to this point. Let's first start off with my LinkedIn About section, which I'll put right here. Pause the video if you want to read it in depth, but I won't read it word for word. I wanted to use my LinkedIn About section to paint the picture of who I am as a person and employee. With something like LinkedIn, you have no idea what potential employer or hiring manager or future business partner will stumble across your page, but because of the rounded individual that I am, I have YouTube, I have startups, I'm also just a pure software engineer, I wanted someone to understand why I've done the things that I've done and why that makes me a unique person to bring on to any given team. And so once the About section of my LinkedIn profile breaks the ice, I'm able to further my story by talking about myself in future hiring screening calls, in my resume, throughout the entire interview process. And because my mission in all of this is to just tell my story and to be my authentic self, that consistency that the person that comes across my profile sees will be evidently clear the moment that they speak to me, the moment that they see any of my YouTube videos or any of my social media platforms. Everything is just me. So I tell this compelling story that not only resonates with whoever's reading it, but also screams true because I'm myself through any one of these mediums. So as a result, I've been reached out to people trying to start startup ventures. I've been reached out by people who want me to quit my job and join their company. And ultimately, I think it's because I'm able to tell this story that shows the person that I am and the morals that I have and the types of ambition that I carry every day, that I want to progress my life forward in a way that makes me not scared of any challenges in my way. With both college admissions and job hunting, the storytelling part is fairly explicit. I'm writing a story down in an application and telling my story in an interview. But the strongest stories are those that are unspoken. What I mean by this is when I live my life, especially the way that I do, which is very public, people form their own stories about me from their perspective. When there's no explicit story to go off of, people either subconsciously or consciously fill in the gaps using the information that they know about you. Remember, in the beginning of this video, I said I have one main goal: to have people see or envision the genuine human in me. Because of this, I live every day being unapologetically myself, for better or for worse. I trust people right off the bat. I treat people of all ages with a baseline level of respect. I'm never the loudest voice in the room. And because of this, some people don't like me. Some people have wronged me in the past. But also because of this, I've created many genuine connections in situations that I'll talk about later on in this video that have really helped me out. And I feel like it's because I'm always my authentic self and I'll always lend out a helping hand when needed. And when creating these relationships, whether they're with loved ones or they're for networking purposes, storytelling is very pivotal. So let's start with networking. I had a situation very recently that I think y'all will be pretty interested in. So in terms of networking, there's actually a cool story that I have with an old VC of one of the startups that I was a part of. She had been in Boston, where I currently reside in Boston. So she was in the neighborhood and said, hey, we should catch up and see what each other are up to. And in my head, I just took this opportunity to say hi to someone who I had worked with in the past. She had invested a significant amount of money to one of the startups that I was a part of, and I thought it would be nice to say hi. And again, just by me being my authentic self in that meeting and giving candid feedback to some of the ventures that they were involved with at the moment, one thing led to another. She discovered that I have this YouTube channel that I want to help people, and now in the future, we're going to be launching a course together. And that type of relationship would not have been fostered and wouldn't have been maintained if it weren't for me just being myself throughout all the platforms that I'm a part of and in professional and personal settings. She had kept tabs with the CEO, the CTO, and me, and it makes sense from her point of view as well. She gets to catch up on people and potentially be a part of new ventures that these smart individuals that she had connections with start. And then networking even goes beyond just entrepreneurial ventures. I have friends at the gym I signed up for who validate my parking for free and give me free guest passes because I give them the light of day and show interest in them as a human being. All I do is consistently be myself, say hi whenever I see them, and take the time to catch up on their days as hundreds of gym goers simply walk by without acknowledging them. These are people that just work the front desk, that just have to key people in and answer any questions that people have. But I have gotten to know their names, I've played basketball with them, and I ask them about how they're doing. These parking validations are worth $5 a trip. Some favors that they've done for me, like give me guest passes, are worth $50 a guest pass. And simply me being my authentic self and me being nice to them has given me those benefits that I didn't even know were coming when I initially met them and initially interacted with them. There are also people that I just play basketball with that have already openly said that they'll do me favors in the future if I ever, say, go by the restaurant that they own, or if I ever start a venture in XYZ, that they'll step in and gladly help because they just like me as a person. At any point, I have potential business partners who'd want to work with me simply because they see the hard work and dedication that I put forth in any task, even just basketball. And then there's my life partner, Michelle. We've just grown together over the last 4 years and live every moment of our lives together. We have a lot of parts of our lives that are intertwined and intermixed, and we spend a lot of times with each of our families. And these are things that have developed over time. And again, by being my authentic self, by showing that I'm selfless, by showing a level of self-respect, and by showing my care for the people that are involved in her life and my life, we're able to foster a connection that's deeper, that we know will stand the test of time. And that all kind of comes full circle with just having the people around me perceive me as the person that I am inside, and me living every day of my life just as me. Okay, so I know I teased about some money aspects in the beginning of the video, so let me talk about those. Because although they are not the most important thing in my head, I think these are tangible benefits from just being good at telling your own story. So I know I mentioned that I net myself over $100,000 in cash and over $2 million in funding just by storytelling in the last 2 years. So with my day job, I negotiated my salary. I showed that I was willing to go above and beyond my job title. I showed that I was willing to ask consistently about promotion prospects, about what key things that I need to focus on to actually reach those next levels, and then I executed on those. And so with my job specifically, I got $40,000 in raises and more equity in just the first calendar year that I was a part of that company. And for telling that story, it was all through word of mouth, with constant communication with my managers, and then also writing an explicit document that compared the job description of the next job title that I wanted, along with the things that I was continuing to do and execute on a day-to-day basis. So I was being more explicit with that story, so it was more of like the job application side of things, but I had to mix that in with just me being my authentic self because we interact with each other on a day-to-day basis as well. And then on the sales front with Aspire Mentors and my mentorship program, I was able to sign 10 mentees who I personally mentor in my Aspire Mentors program. Within the first couple of months of actually launching it, my business coach actually was really taken aback because he never worked with someone who had gotten this many clients from nothing. I didn't have even a website set up. I just started selling me, that I would be a good mentor for these people, and they ultimately signed up. And now I get fulfillment back also and be able to help people progress and unlock their potentials in their everyday. So if you want more information about that, the information's in the link below and you can check it out on aspirementors.tech. And with startup funding, it's very explicit there as well. Every pitch competition that you see, every time you give an elevator pitch to a potential investor, that's telling the story of the business that you're hoping forms and hoping grows one day. A lot of the times, especially when you don't have the established business already, you need to craft a story that resonates with whatever investor you're trying to pitch. You see these types of pitches in stuff like Shark Tank, where they get to show a demo of the current product that they have. But with tech startups, it's a little more abstract there, where you have to show a pitch that shows a potential market size, shows potential users, shows potential revenue, because this is all theoretical. You don't really get to hand them anything that already has a significant amount of users, at least most of the time. So it's all storytelling there. And with the last two startups that I was a part of, I was the one personally pitching in these pitch events and in these pitch meetings. And the biggest thing for me is just to have that person envision life in the future with this technology that I'm trying to pitch. And if you can get them to envision being the user themselves, I think you've already made huge ground. And of course, again, with being my authentic self, record, they know the experience that I have, the type of person that I am, and in these meetings I don't change at all either. So they are investing in me as a person, and as you can see from the course partnership that I developed, they want to continue to invest in me as a person moving forward, regardless of the technology that I'm working with. And so lastly, there's storytelling in negotiating deals, like the lease here and our meal delivery service and our cleaning. So with the lease negotiating, this unit was originally put on the market for $6,000 a month. It was past the peak lease signing season and on the market for multiple months. So Michelle and I knew we had an advantage here on where we can, negotiate, bring the price down. And I think throughout this whole process, and again, we believe in the fact that I'm just continuing to be my genuine self, I let them envision the type of tenants we'd be. There's just two of us here in this 3-bedroom unit. One of the rooms is just used as my office and studio, and with our combined incomes, the rent is well within our budgets. When a landlord was willing to push back the date when the security deposit was due, I elected to not haggle the broker fee, even if the real estate agent said it was a possibility to. Sometimes you have to play the long game. If they think we're not going to be consistently fussy, they probably won't give us a hard time if any issues arise or if there's slight damage when we move out. So ultimately, we were able to secure this lease for $4,500 a month for 2 years and was able to delay the security deposit payment for another 2 months when we actually moved in. And now to this day, that mutual cooperation has meant that we're able to stay in this unit even despite our landlord trying to sell it. So everything is just working out. And I think we told a good story and continue to cooperate on a daily basis. And I continue to just be myself. And with little things like our meal delivery service and our routine cleanings of our unit, I just continue to negotiate, and these scenarios show that I'm a consistent customer, that I'm willing to help out, be flexible with the times, be flexible with the meals, and ultimately we've been able to save hundreds of dollars a month on those types of services as well, all by just telling this story of ideal customer. Thanks to those who made it to this part of the video. If you made it this far, comment thanks for that tip so I know that you made it this far. As always, thanks for watching and stay positive, and I'll see you in the next one.